Good afternoon. My name's Councillor Gary Marsh. I'm Chairman of the Planning Committee and welcome to it here on the 13th of March. To my left is my Vice Chairman, Councillor Kennedy. To my right is Steve King, the Team Leader, Major Development. And to his right is Paula, our Legal Officer. In the two corners are members of Democratic Services and the councillors who are going to be making the decisions are out in front of us. So go through the agenda. Item 1 is to note substitutes in accordance with Council Procedure Rule 4. I have none. Item 2, we're all here. That's good. Item 3, to receive any declaration of interest of anything on the agenda? No. And item 4 is agreed by general affirmation that the minutes of the previous meeting are okay. If they're okay, great. I'll sign them. Thank you. Item 5 is to consider any items that I agree to take as urgent business. I have none. So straight to item 6 is DM 241340, Sussex Police Authority, Police Station, East Grinstead, College Lane, East Grinstead. This is yours, Steve.
Thank you, Chairman. Just before we start, one brief update that's on the update sheet, suggesting adding an additional informative regarding the details that we expect, or a specific detail that we expect to be in the construction management plan regarding how deliveries to and from the site will be managed. And I think it's also been suggested a further informative that also be added regarding the maintenance of the roads within the site, because they're private roads, so essentially that will be a private matter between the applicants and the landowner, but just to ensure that they're looked at before the works commence, assuming planning permission is granted, and then afterwards, so if there is any damage, that's made good, but that would just be an informative to flag that up to the applicants. So to briefly go through the planning application, the application seeks full planning permission for 33 residential apartments at the former Sussex Police Authority police station up at East Court in East Grinstead. So the proposal involves the refurbishment of the east wing as existing and demolition and rebuild the southern and western wings of the property. So this is the application site outlined in red here. So the site comprises a U-shaped building. I've got some photographs later in the presentation. Two stories on these two wings. A single-story wing on the western side. Got a fall in levels through the site from south down to north. Existing access provided here. Existing hard-standing car parking area to the east of the building, and the centre of the site is all hard-standing as well. On the north, you've got a close-board fence, 1.8 metre fence on the boundary. These existing garages that are within the site. Then you've got houses at a lower level to the north. Across to the west, Blackwell Hollow, that's at a much lower level, so it's quite a steep embankment along the side of the road here. To the east, as I say, you've got a car park area, then grassed landscaping, East Court Mansion further across to the southeast and the grounds of East Court. And to the south joins a two-storey council building that's in mixed community use, has a nursery in there. So just in terms of some of the policy allocations, this plan shows the heritage assets that are referred to in the committee report. So you've got the listed buildings outlined in red here. The blue cross hatching is the conservation area, and the black line marks the extent of the built-up area boundary, so the site is within the built-up area of East Grinstead countryside beyond to the east. So this is the proposed block plan of the development. So the full details are set out in the committee report in section 10. As I say, it seeks consent for 33 dwellings, eastern wing refurbished, the former southern and western wings demolished and rebuilt, landscaping in the centre of the site. The application provides 3 studio flats, 12 one-bed units and 18 two-bed units. It's 34 car parking spaces in total, most of them to the east of the building, but some to the north here and here. That's the proposed landscaping plan. Just shows a little bit more detail. Committee report refers to 2 cherry trees that would be retained. They're the ones that are shown here on the proposal. And as I say, that's the bit more detail of the internal landscaping. So at the moment, this is all hard standing in the central courtyard, and we'll see that in the photos. So it's more soft landscaping than is currently on the site. Northern end would be the garages repurposed for the bin and bike store in that location. So those are the existing elevations. It'll be clearer to see in the photos, but part 2-storey building and then a single-storey wing on the western side. So in terms of the proposal, these are the proposed north and west elevations. So that's the top, it's the west elevation of the west wing. So if you were on the edge of the property, that was what you'd be seeing from the outside. That's the proposed north-facing elevation. So if you were in the courtyard, this is what you would see. So 3-storey building. Proposed east elevation of the west wing at the top, and at the bottom is the east elevation of the east wing. So that's essentially facing outwards. Other elevations, that's the proposed south elevation at the bottom, and this is the west elevation of the east wing. So if you're in the courtyard, that's what you would be looking at. And finally, a couple of sections through the site, so you can see the fall-in levels down to the north, the existing building to the south, which would become detached at this point from the current structure. So that's the fall-in levels through the site. In terms of floor plans, because of the difference in levels, you've got a small basement area, a couple of units on the eastern wing. Then this is the proposed ground floor plan, so that's the east wing, southern and western wing. So it becomes detached from the existing building at this point here. Proposed first floor plan, similar layout. They're just the elevations of the repurposed garage that will become the bin and bike store, which is at the northern end of the site. And just some photos of the site to give a bit of context. So this is within the East Court grounds, looking westward. So that's up towards the access. So that's the building. That's the east wing that would be retained. This is where it would be severed from the existing building, a bit more detail, so severed across here. So this retained, that's the existing building. You can see the car parking as existing to the east. So this is the existing access point. You can see the houses to the north at a lower level. They're the 4 garages that would be repurposed for the bin bike store. These are views from within the site, so you can see derelict site essentially, not contributing anything positively to the character of the area. So this is within the courtyard. That's the east wing again, southern wing. That's the western wing, and that's from the western side of the site, looking at the western wing. And then finally, these are views taken from the external staircase, so that's looking northwards. So that's the garages referred to that become the bin and bike store. Houses beyond, another view from that elevated position looking down. And again, this is within the courtyard, looking at the southern wing, western wing, and the eastern wing. So if I just go back, perhaps to the landscaping plan. So in terms of the issues, they're all as set out in the committee report, so I won't labour them because it's all there. But just to flag up the main points, I think, in terms of the legal framework, as members know, planning applications should be determined in accordance with the development plan unless material considerations indicate otherwise. You'll see that this site is allocated for development in the site allocations, DPD, albeit for fewer units than are proposed here. It should also be noted, I'm sure you're aware now, that for the reasons that are set out in the committee report, because of the position of the council not being able to demonstrate 5-year housing land supply, these applications are looked at in the context of that tilted balance that's in the MPPF. So that's the legal framework. Design and character, you'll see there's no objections now from the council's urban designer. The scheme has been amended during the course of its submission, and we're happy with the design now. Makes efficient use of the site by getting more units on than the allocation, which officers think is a good thing and positive in the balance, because it's obviously extra units located here on a previously developed site that we potentially don't have to find elsewhere in a greenfield site elsewhere. In terms of landscaping, you've got that plan that shows the additional landscaping outside of on the edge of the car park, clear improvements within the site in terms of more soft landscaping. So I think that's an improvement and will contribute positively to the setting of the East Court Mansions and the conservation area. So that's positive, we think, in terms of the landscape and the impacts on those heritage assets. With regards to residential amenity, so that's been commented on by a lot of third parties. That's dealt with in paragraph 12.5.8 of the report onwards. And I think members will know, because you grappled with this issue on a site in Haywards Heath, I think at your last meeting, the MPPF does set quite a high bar in terms of substantial harm in terms of neighbour amenities, and that is a very high bar, and it offers a view that there won't be substantial harm and there won't be significant harm, so it complies, in our view, with the District Council's policy and the guidance in the MPPF. The distances to the nearest property here from the end of the west wing, about 21 metres, and at this point to the very edge of that property is just over about 18.5, 19 metres. So within the built-up area, given what's already there, we don't think there is harm. Housing mix and affordable housing, that's dealt with in paragraphs 12, 7, 9 onwards of the report. You'll see that the application doesn't provide affordable housing. The applicants have submitted viability information with their application that has been independently assessed by an external consultant appointed by the council, obviously at the applicant's expense, who agree that that is the position, that with the other infrastructure contributions and the Ashdown Forest contribution that needs to be made, it couldn't provide affordable housing. There will be a review mechanism in the legal agreement, an advanced stage review mechanism, so that once units are sold and we have actual values for the revenue that's been generated plus the costs, if that position has changed and there is more value generated from the scheme, then that can be retained by the council. So that's that. With that in place, it does accord with the policy because they have gone through that viability assessment and the review mechanism. So that, as I say, that's all in the report, and there will be that mechanism in the legal agreement. I think the other main concern that's been raised related to transport matters, and again that's dealt with in paragraph 12.8.4 of the report. In terms of comings and goings to and from the site, the proposal would result in fewer movements than the permitted use, were that to ever come back. And in terms of the car parking, it's 34 spaces, which the county council have raised no objection with, and I think it's the sort of the normal argument that if as a potential occupier you've got two cars, for example, and car parking is really important to you, then this isn't going to be the site that you would be looking to buy. So we think that the level of car parking is sufficient, no highway objections, and it allows, as I say, an efficient use of the site. So for all those reasons, we think that the proposal does comply with the development plan when read as a whole. You've got the tilted balance, it's engaged as well. It's making good, efficient use of a derelict site that doesn't contribute anything positively at the moment. And so for those reasons, it's recommended for approval, Chairman.
Thank you, Steve. We have one speaker who's speaking in support, and that's Tom Drysdale. If you'd like to come to where the public speaker is, as soon as you press the button on the screen will be 2 minutes, and after 90 seconds, I'll just say you've got 30 seconds left.
Thank you. I think most points have actually been covered. Currently, the site consists of a series of large buildings, as you've seen, extensive tarmacking with parking for 43 cars. This complex of buildings was built in the early 60s as a subdivisional police headquarters and has been vacant since the new police station was opened in 2017. Within permitted development rights, this could be occupied as general offices with an occupant capacity, according to the building regs, of over 140 staff, with the resultant increase in cars using College Lane and parking issues. The site, again, as has been said, is included in your site allocations development plan with the objective to optimise the development through the provision of high-density scheme of apartments. The indicative scheme that was provided with that plan suggested full demolition of the existing buildings with new build apartments in a U-shape orientated to the south. We considered that in this form the proposal was too close and looked directly over the rear of East Court cottages to the north and would be a waste of solidly built buildings. Our scheme is to convert the east wing, which will reduce construction traffic and reduce disruption during construction, and provide a new south and west wing. The scheme was submitted to the council as a pre-application and subsequently amended to address the
30
comments
seconds.
received. Sorry?
You've got 30 seconds.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, what did you say?
You have I'll give you a few minutes, seconds longer. Just keep talking
Right.
until
The
I
scheme
say
was submitted
stop.
to the council as a pre-application and subsequently amended to address the comments received, paying particular attention to the reduced impact on the houses to the north. In conclusion, we feel this proposal represents significant benefit to the local area, providing much-needed homes, but does so by not using greenfield land and making best use of a neglected brownfield site. In addition, the buildings on site have started to deteriorate and will increasingly detract from the parkland setting and neighbouring properties. The proposal is consistent and appropriate to the size of the site and is a sustainable, future-proof design which respects, protects, conserves and complements the character of the setting and the existing collection of buildings. We hope you're able to support this proposal. Thank you.
As you were confused, I allow you to finish. Thank you. Right. Oh, yes, it's dead. Right. Councillor DeBell, this is your ward. Would you like to kick it off, please? You need to press. No. Yes, you do.
How's that?
Yep.
Well, this, as has been said many times, was a purpose-built police station in the 60s for East Grinstead. It had a courthouse attached. It had cells, and in fact, they caused quite a bit of a problem to redevelopment because there's a heck of a lot of concrete being done in part of the courthouse, etc. But that was back in the day when we used to have a police force in most towns. But it was wonderfully purposefully built, and it stands in a lovely setting at Eastcourt, which is the home of East Grinstead Town Council. But unfortunately, over a period of time, it has started to get run down, and various plans have come forward. There was talk at one time of the actual council buying it and redeveloping it for various things. When I was originally a town councillor, and so was various other people. But then the main problem was actually getting to and away from the site, because you have to go across Eastcourt, and I think the access was a bit of a problem. But it is a terrific place. It will be a lovely place to live because it looks out over some of the most fantastic part of East Grinstead, Eastcourt itself, which is lovely. And all problems being resolved, this must not be allowed to continue to deteriorate. It will make some good homes for people in East Grinstead, and I'm pleased to hear that it'll have some affordable homes there too. And all things being considered, this needs redevelopment. This needs to be put to good use. So I fully support the plans going forward, and I'm sure that there'll be niggles, but I'm sure that we'll get through them, and I look forward to seeing what is finally concluded. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Sweatman, you're another East Grinstead councillor, so your
was.
turn. Was. Sorry, no. Well, when I say East Grinstead councillor,
Yeah, obviously,
you represent
there
East.
15 years, but yeah, thank you, Chairman. It's slightly regrettable that there's no affordable housing, but I'm quite pleased that there's a review clause put in to look at when 75% of the houses are either sold or let. So that's where I quite understand the viability issues when they're doing Park Brownfield. One of the main concerns I have is to do with the construction management plan. What I would like to see is how the construction traffic enter and exit the site. And I will give my suggestions, I'll say the reasons why afterwards. I think the most common sense approach and the safest approach is for lorries to come off the A22 down Moat Road to the bottom of Blackwall Hollow. And I will ask Steve, the case officer, if something could be done, because the ideal place is there's a gap with a no entry sign painted on the tarmac. Now, you've got bigger lorries, that would be the ideal route to go in that end, and that is the shortest part of the drive on the estate. So the lorries come up to opposite the lane that goes down to the pavilion. They've got an easy right turn straight into the courthouse. The reasons why I wouldn't want to see any construction traffic come down from the Escotts Drive end, that is a longer part of the drive, and incidentally is privately owned, and the town council has the right to shut that drive any time they like on at least that part of it. The reason being is that we've got a compound where the outdoor team put their chippings, etc., at the top end of the drive. Just further down on the left, there's probably one of the most busiest play schools parks which is owned by the town council in East Grinstead. So for obviously safety reasons, I don't want to see a little child lose his mum's grip and run out in front of a lorry, worst case scenario. You can go straight on or just by the park or turn right down into East Court Council offices. Now that would be inappropriate for lorries to go round there, but there's a lot of hires traffic, people visiting the estate. To go straight on for the short slit, there's parking areas there for cars, so you would no way get a lorry past that for a start. So again, that would be very difficult. So the ideal thing is to come up from the bottom of Blackwall Hollow. Having said that, there are children that walk up the park from Sackville College and that go down that road over to the Blackwall Farm Estate, etc., or wherever they go. So I think we've got some times in here where the construction traffic is not allowed to, or desist from entering the site when school children are leaving. The only other thing that, because the road is quite narrow, it's a job to get two cars past, so there would have to be some facility involved where there's one lorry in, one lorry out, and perhaps some control with either cars coming out, because you know someone's got to give way. You won't get a car and a lorry pass on that park drive, so it has to be managed in that respect. So the other thing, I don't know whether it's possible, I don't know whether Steve could go back to the, just explain the tree planting or landscaping, because the views from the courthouse at the moment is quite a direct view, open view to East Court Mansion, which is a Grade 2 listed building. So ideally, probably as you come into the court, if the courthouse is here and you're facing East Court, to the right, maybe have some tree planting just to, you know, mitigate against that openness to the building. I'll leave that there, Chairman, at the moment, and maybe come back later. Thank you.
Hopefully I'm going to pick up some of the stuff you said. Councillor Cherry.
Yes, just a short question, Chairman, on the affordable housing contribution, that clearly they're not going to be providing affordable housing on this particular site, but are providing a sum of £606,000 for off-site affordable housing. I just wanted to ask, where exactly off-site will this affordable housing be? Will it be within the proximity of East Grinstead or around that area? Perhaps.
Could you highlight where that is?
Yeah, it's 12.82, I think. 12, it says, an independent viability consultant carried out a review of the applicant's submitted viability position. the council's housing enabling officer has summarised this assessment in this way. In this instance, we have advised that we would instead be prepared to accept a commuted sum of 606,000 towards the provision of off-site affordable housing units. So is that going to be in the area? Or?
It's not.
That would have been if they had, if we had affordable housing. It doesn't promote any affordable housing at all.
But they're saying instead they're going to be paying the 606,000.
Hang on a second, we've got too many debates. Steve, could you answer that one? Because I don't feel...
Sorry if I misread the report.
Page 81.
That was my understanding.
Yeah, in terms of the money, that's what we would have said would have been policy compliant, that sum of money. But the scheme as it stands isn't viable to provide that. But what the review mechanism would do is that once that kicks in, if there is additional revenue generated, then that additional revenue up to that sum of money would go towards affordable housing. Whether that is in the immediate, goes towards something in the immediate locality of East Grinstead or slightly wider, I think is something that would be determined by that housing team at the time, and where that money can best be spent and you get the best value, etc. But as I say, that's the sum of money that would have made it policy compliant, but it's not viable at the moment to provide that. So that's why that review mechanism is in place.
Thank you.
That's fine. I'm glad you raised it, because that's what we've learnt to our cost from the Slutham.
Yes.
So after 75% of the houses are let or sold, they have to submit everything to the office, to Steve, and then they get passed over to the company that we use to see if there's any money left that could be used.
Yeah.
And it probably wouldn't be used on this site, it would be used off-site. So, and normally it would be used in the immediate area,
That would
like
be my
East Grinstead and
understanding.
then elsewhere. So that's what we would normally do. But we've been very careful about that. We've got caught
stung
once, we're
by
never going
that.
to get caught twice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Hitchcock.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
I must admit I'm generally in favour of this scheme. I have one question to ask, which is to do with the windows in the north elevation. And if Steve can stick the north elevation up on the screen, I'll try and explain what my problem is. Okay, in the existing building, which is on the east side, the end elevation has a staircase window and 6 other windows. Okay, I would suggest that maybe the second floor, the first floor and the second floor windows, which are in a building which has commercial use, ought to be given some consideration in the domestic environment, because they are clearly overlooking the back of the cottages.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask the question, what are those particular spaces used for? Because I can't read it from here. Maybe I can read it from here.
Yeah, that's right.
It's bedroom, isn't it?
First floor, so
Yeah, the bedrooms.
those
Bedrooms. Okay.
bedrooms there.
Okay.
Yeah, so on the east wing, bedroom windows.
Yeah.
There and there.
And there are
But
none.
where it's a bit closer,
Yeah.
on this one, it's blank elevation. And that's obviously the stairwell,
Yeah.
that larger window in the centre.
Okay.
Go back to the elevation. Oops.
I'm only worried because of the slope. I mean, it's significantly higher than the cottages, and you can actually see a long distance.
Yeah, I'll show you. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. Yeah.
I think, I mean, it's in the committee report, but I think officers' view, it's a high bar in terms of there being
understand that.
significant harm, and we're within a built-up area where there's already mutual overlooking from the existing houses. which is obviously not uncommon in a built-up area. At first floor level, you can see into your neighbour's garden. That's the way it is. So, in our view, we don't think that would be something that would warrant resisting the application. But obviously, it's all a matter of judgment for the committee.
Okay, Steve, I'll leave it.
Yeah, if there had been bathrooms, we could have done something about it.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But as it's bedrooms,
Well, they're not going to get all Davies.
no, they're not. No. Well, one would hope, anyway. Councillor Kenny. No, don't touch.
Okay. Right, yes. So a couple of questions and observations in this general topic of affordable housing, which, I'm kind of interested in, and partly based on, my first question might sound odd, but it's based on that Slatham experience. So what do we know about Mr. Lederer and his relationship to the landowner? Because in Slatham we had someone who had
The nose over there.
collected a set of housing permissions and ran a very tough game of maximising their profitability. I'd like to know a little bit about who we are enabling, because we're providing this applicant with the opportunity to earn £1.8 million worth of profit. Which leads me to my second question, which is that we have heard a lot about the viability review clause. Some of you members here who were present at viability training earlier in the week will have heard me ask the question, how many times have we invoked that review mechanism in order to recover any funds? And the answer was none. Now, the question of viability here and whether or not the 600,000, and thanks very much to Councillor Cho for raising the issue, the applicant's ability to meet that charge is zero, whilst his profit is 20%, while he makes, or they make, 1.8 million on a £9 million investment. Question arises in my mind about the 20% figure. Is it a guideline? Is it a rule? Can it be varied from? And in particular, the specific question is, when we carry out the viability review, do we have to recognise that 20% as an inviolable cost? Because I think the costings that I saw in the report were perfectly good, and there's no reason to challenge either the valuation of the houses sold or the cost built. I think that all seemed perfectly reasonable. The only movable factor here seems to me this question of 20% profit, because if we cannot make affordable housing work in this context, we have a perfect landowner, in as much as in the basic land value, there was no landowner premium that was waived by the landowner in the sale price. So we can't look to an inflated land price as the reason for non-viability of affordable housing. There were no extraneous extra environmental circumstances, no extra works to be done. So I would invite you to the question, if not now, when? Absolutely, we are all in this council totally seized with tilted balance and our need to allow development because of the tilted balance. But it's equally part of the government's NPPF that there's a great stress, and I'm quoting from the famous paragraph 11, that the policies must be directed at making sustainable locations, effective use of land, securing well-designed places, all of which may very well be met here, providing affordable homes. The only barrier to affordable homes on this site is the profit level that is being demanded by the applicant. And I am unimpressed, deeply unimpressed by that, both by that stance being taken and not a preparation to have a lower level of profitability, but also the fact that it has come here to us. I'd like to see more work done with developers in advance, recognising the new government's absolute priority on affordable homes. I would expect more conversations to take place between officers and developers in advance of them appearing in front of our committee that impress upon those property developers, do not bring proposals before us that do not have rock-solid reasons why affordable housing cannot be met. And it is not an attempt to take away profit motive at all. But I think there is room here for both a healthy profit and for affordable homes. So, sorry about the lecture, that's it.
Okay, can you switch the thing off, please? Your Deputy Prime Minister, not mine, your Deputy Prime Minister, was asked that question in the Houses of Parliament, and they said it's perfectly reasonable for a developer to make up to 20% profit. They don't do it for the goodness of their heart. If this had been an RSL, we wouldn't be talking, you wouldn't be having this conversation because the whole building would have been affordable housing. But it's a private developer, and Ms Rayner said it is perfectly acceptable for private developers to make up to 20%. I rest my case. Change the government, that's what I would say. But you would expect me to say that, wouldn't you? Councillor Brown, you haven't spoken yet.
Thank you. Forgive me that my questions will seem simple following that. I think very valid point by Councillor Kenny. First one, so at what stage did we go from the planned 22 to 33 dwellings? The reason I ask that, it puts a bit of stress on the car parking provision, as far as I can see. There's only 34 places there. That 2 of them were identified for visitors. Well, and you know, it's basically one short of the number of dwellings. And then, you know, I think Steve King said people who will have 2 cars in a dwelling aren't going to choose this place. I disagree with that, because at the moment you can park for free. There's notices in East Court, in the East Court car park. So I see some stress there, and I don't know. East Grinstead councillors might be better informed than I am whether there are any plans to charge there or have any charging scheme. But I see all sorts of stresses with this. And one mitigating factor that I'd like to see, and I address this to Mr. Drysdale, because it's about the travel plan by ZMQL, which I don't really think is very good. I mean, this is a sustainable site. You know, it's a really wonderful site. It's a quick walk into East Grinstead, and also you've got the 400 bus and the 281, the Lingfield to Crawley bus. You know, so you've got 2 an hour at the bus stop at the bottom. So I don't really think they've addressed the walking to school very well. I mean, Blackwell, it should be Blackwell School, won't it?
No.
No.
Sackville.
Primary
There's a junior school, but the secondary kids go to Sackville School from that
Yes,
side.
Sackville for the second. I was just about to say that, thank
Okay,
you.
sorry.
Yes, but I don't think either of them are really very well addressed in this travel plan. And I mean, the travel plan, it doesn't have to, I read there that it doesn't have to be produced anyway, because the number of dwellings are less than the threshold, and they've produced one out of the goodness of their heart, which is, it's an NPPF thing, I understand, unless it's changed in the latest NPPF. So, I think there could be more work done on that, that would really encourage people to think about, realise what a good location it is without, and encourage people to be one car or less. Then the final point, the fourth point really, is Councillor Sweatman started off with this business of the construction management plan, and I agree with him. And I think during the construction phase, something along those lines is important, i.e. where the HGVs use the access from the Blackwell Farm Road junction, basically there. And that's a horrible junction, and I can't believe that the Highways Authority haven't suggested some alterations there. But when that's all, that's a temporary thing during the construction phase. But going forward, it's a very good route there for cyclists and people. Well, it's essential if you're going to walk that way, you need to walk through East Court. You can't walk down Blackwell Hollow, and it's not advisable to cycle up and down it either. So, and I've made this representation to East Grinstead Town Council Committee in the past. Basically, I think a little bit more work could be usefully done, although it's not mandatory, on the travel plan, and and it would make, well, it's an attractive site, that's for sure. So, thank you.
No problems. I'm going to go to two people who haven't spoken yet, Councillor Sweatman. So, Councillor Henwood, don't touch it.
Oh, thank you. I didn't pick up whether there are any EV charging points in the car park.
Yes, there are 8.
There are 8, okay. I noticed in the sustainability report, page 57, it's nice. They have air source hot water heat pumps to install for hot water. Would I also suggest that we have some photovoltaics on the roof and that we also install some grey water recycling, Chairman? Thank you very much.
Yep. I don't know where we have to look. Oh, do you want to, before I go to you, Councillor Cassell, do you want to answer about the parking? Steve?
What specifically?
Well, you said something about not enough parking spaces.
Not really calling for more car parking places. It was recognising that.
Oh, the highways, the transport plan, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, there could be a bit more emphasis on the transport plan. There is a conflict between car parks provided by East Grinstead Town Council and the shortage of car parking places. The same thing that happens at Turner's Hill. That's exactly what happens with that Turner's Hill Court and Turner's Hill Park. You know it well.
I do. I'm a member of the parish council.
I know you are. So, that's, and this is going to be the same, I think. That was my point. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, Councillor Cassell, you don't need to ask. Councillor Cassell.
There we go. Personally, I think it's a nice site. It's really reusing existing building, which I think we should all encourage as much as possible. Yes, some new bits have got to be built, but that's to improve the overall development. With regard to traffic, I would say there's probably going to be less traffic using that site now than when it was a police station and a court.
And they're probably going a lot slower.
Yeah, quite possibly. So, to me, it's an ideal place, an ideal location, and I support it.
Well, bearing in mind that that site is actually our official sang, because I was instrumental getting that put in. And you do get a lot of people who use the parking and walk around it as opposed to going up onto Ashdown Forest. So it is a wonderful site. And the people who will move into that once it's built have got perfect countryside next door to each other. Before I go back to you, Councillor Sweatman, I'm just going to do some observations myself, if that's okay. I know this site incredibly well. And the comments that Councillor Sweatman made, I fully support. It's is the lesser of the two evils of getting the construction traffic in. I do think I've got to find the status of the no entry. I think that's probably put in by town council. So if it was put in by the town council, it would either be taken out temporarily by the town council. The road is narrow, and in our talk through on Monday, we discussed about the timings because the children who are in the estate across from this, they do come up this road all the time, and we do not want children and lorries mixing, and vice versa going back the other way. And that's the reasons why this is formative. Now, the one question I will ask is, obviously, in the informative, we've got these two extra bits that have been put in. Obviously, the informative will only apply in term time. So whenever they start to build out, obviously, if there's the school term, we don't want lorries mixing with children, whether the children won't be there if it's out of term. So that's one thing we just got to make sure we are aware of. Back to you, Councillor Sweatman.
Just to correct, or Councillor Brown, save any ambiguity there, is that the town council car park is not a free-for-all free car park. Having said that, people do park there normally to walk their dogs, where in reality they should go down to the pavilion. It is basically for hirers and visitors to the East Court Town Council offices. And obviously there was a concern by the Town Council about overflow parking from this development into the areas I just mentioned. But having said that, that is down to the Town Council to mitigate against, and it's not a planning reason for us to either refuse or whatever this application. I don't know if Steve can come back on what I mentioned about the way the lorries come into, route the lorries come in, whether that could be either condition or informative. And also another thing is that any detriment to the drive due to construction traffic is mitigated against by the developer. And also, being a private drive, whether the residents or the management company of this new development actually pays something towards the maintenance of the drive. I don't know whether that could be.
I think that's part of the informative. That I'm
is
sure.
That part of the
I think
informative.
Part of the informative.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the construction management plan and the details, obviously the applicants are here and are hearing the discussion that the committee are having. It's up to the applicants, assuming if planning permission's granted, to submit details to clear that condition, and we would consult the Highway Authority and our own environmental protection team about those details. So in terms of exactly where lorries come into access and so on, it's probably not for us at this committee to prescribe that. It's for the developers to come forward with those details when they're coming to clear that condition, having regard to all the issues that we flagged up. So we can pick that up. And in terms of the future maintenance, once again, if it's built and finished, I think that would be a private matter between the landowner and the landowner of the access drive as to who contributes what moving forward. That really isn't a planning matter. That's a private legal matter between the landowners.
Because, sorry if I may come back, Chairman.
Sure.
I seriously must emphasise my point I made about it coming down from Oak Road that way in, because I'm seriously concerned about the safety of children, especially the kids from our play park, if lorries are coming in from that end. So I would appeal to Mr. Ledger over there to actually seriously consider that way in, if that's possible. Thank you.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mr.
thank you,
King's
Chairman.
going to come back about where did it get uplifted from?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of where that's come from, obviously the site is allocated for development in the document, but it's up to a developer when they come forward. It's up to them what proposal they put forward, and then we have to assess it against the policy and the national guidance, etc. So essentially, the extra units, the uplift, have come from the applicants, and it's their choice to come in with a different scheme, and then that has to be assessed by us as the planning authority. So that's where that's come from. And just to go back, I think, to Councillor Kenny's raised questions. In terms of the applicant, stands Mr. Lederer, the company 2MQL Limited, on the application form. It's certificate A has been completed, indicating that the applicant owns the site. Ultimately, as members know, a planning permission runs with the land, so we're not, as a planning committee, concerned with the particular applicant as such, whether it's company A or company B. It's the planning merits and the information that's put forward with the application. And in terms of the viability assessment, how that's been done, the information that's come in, etc., that's all been done having regard to national advice in the PPG. The figures in terms of profit, that again comes from the PPG. I mean, it's not it must be 20%, can't be less, can't be more. That's referred to as a guideline. But ultimately, everything that's been submitted has been done in accordance with that guidance and has been independently assessed. If our viability consultants were of the view that this was viable, the applicants were putting in inaccurate figures, or going for a profit level that was completely unrealistic, then that's what they'd be saying, because they're just giving their independent advice on it. So there's probably not much more that I can say on that, because I'm not a viability expert. That's why we instruct these external people to carry out that technical work on our behalf. So I think that's probably all I can say on that point, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. King. Condition 20, this addresses Councillor Henwood's concern about PV. It says about the energy statement, Pepper Energy, heat source pump site in there on after. I can't see anything about PV at all. There's about overheating and all the rest of the things. Is it because of the way it's been constructed that they don't feel the need for PV?
Yeah, I think it's not something the applicants are referred to. They've gone for a more of a fabric first approach.
AVO,
and obviously one of the main things that with this application is that it does allow for the reuse of the eastern wing, which is a benefit in terms of the sort of embodied energy in that building, as opposed to knocking it down and starting again. So.
Final to say anything, Councillor de Bell?
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for letting me come back. I just wanted to say that all the concerns that have been voiced about driving, this is one of the most central parts. It's not the central part, but it's one of the most central parts for walking into East Grinstead, which is what most people do. In fact, the police officers that used to be stationed there would probably have had to have done. Most of them walking all day and all night when we used to have a police force in this country that used to do such things. So I think that obviates a lot of the concerns about driving here. I know that the children, young people coming from the schools, they're going over to the Blackwell area, they walk this route and they enjoy doing it. and I would look forward to seeing people who live in what this will be a lovely development will continue to do, and they will be walking into town, as I would be indeed if I happened at some stage in the future to buy one of these places myself. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I did my fair share of walking when I was in the police. All right, can I have I don't think anybody else wishes to speak. Can I have a proposer and a seconder? So that's Councillor DeBell to propose, Councillor Sweatman to second it. In the normal way, can we have up the voting bit, please? Green if you agree with it, red if you don't, and yellow if you're going to abstain. Yep, that's unanimous. Well done, thank you, that's passed. You did hear, Mr. Ledger has heard the debate. I'm sure we'll take on everything we've just said as well. Thank you. I'll allow you to leave the chamber if you wish to, and then our last part of our meeting for today. You'll see in the update sheet, we've got Councillor Eggleton, who's the chairman of the Burgess Hill Town Council Planning Committee, is that correct?
No, David Eccleston.
Yeah.
Yes, Councillor Eccleston is chairman, yes.
That's what I said, you're not.
I'm not, I did partake in no part of this.
Excellent, that's what I like to see.
You'll see the record.
Okay. If you read in the update sheet, well, actually, let Mr. King say everything on this one.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. So, as you see in the update sheet, there's just a question from the Town Council about how will this permission work with the planned town centre regeneration if construction works start before the end of the 12-month permission, but filming has not concluded? Essentially, the Planning Committee is looking at the prior approval and the planning side, whether that's acceptable or not. The question really relates to, that's a landowner type issue. So I think the short answer is if there's building works going on the site and the landowner doesn't allow filming to go there for health and safety reasons, then the filming won't be able to take place. It's as simple as that.
The recommendation is on page 114. Oh, by the way, does anybody wish to speak about this one? Because we've had it here before. No?
It's been approved before.
Councillor Henwood.
Just a couple of questions. I believe this is the third year this has come forward.
Very popular TV series, apparently.
Apparently. So I have asked several times this question, and I have never, I know it's not a planning, but I've never had a response. That to whom is the money paid for this permission and how much is it?
It's probably commercially sensitive, and that will be something you should raise with your own portfolio holder of your party.
Okay, the finance gentleman, okay.
I think that's about the answer I can give you. I can't give you any other answer.
I know it's not a planning consideration. I just like to highlight it.
Nothing to do with us. So it's commercially, they've asked, we said yes, and we'll get some money. Don't ask me how much that is. As you said, it's not a planning reason. It is. Now I'm going to ask Councillor Sain, you're the ward councillor. Do you want to?
Yes, I do.
You propose, yeah? And anybody else in Burgess Hill? Oh, quick. Yep, Councillor Kennedy was there quick. He's going to second it. Right, can we have the green if you agree, red if you don't, and yellow if you're going to abstain? Oh, abstention. Okay. Yep, that's 11 for, 1 abstaining and nobody against, so that is agreed. Thank you very much. Now back to the agenda. Item 8, questions pursuant to Council Procedure Rule 10.2, due notice which has been given. I have none. So I therefore close the meeting at 5:04. Can you remain seated until we get the live stream cut, please?
5 minutes now finished.
Right, thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you.